All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show. This is your host, Mitch Bernstein. Looking forward to a great show this evening. Thanks for being here. We really appreciate it. A couple things before we get our first guest on. Um, those darn Dodgers. They they're there. They are doing it. Their pitching is keeping them in. They're not hitting as The last night was a hitting day for them, but we'll talk with our guest, the one and only Gregg Murphy, in a minute about their hitting. A couple of things I'm going to bring up with him is their hitting against the Phillies, what the Phillies pitching did with them, but they are a professional hitting team. They're showing it. They've done it. They're up 2-0, and we'll see what happens. Milwaukee's got a task in front of them. Their bullpen is kind of stretched right now, so it'll be interesting to see if they can come back and win. They have to at least win one in Dodger Stadium. It'd be nice if they could win two and make it a series. The other one is exciting. It's fun, not because the Blue Jays are down 2-0, because you're looking at the Seattle offense, and this Polanco kid, man, he is making a name for himself. Their pitching in that series for Seattle is really good. Also, when you're following a team on basically in the East, you don't get to see the other teams in the West that much. I have MLB, but you didn't really watch a lot of Seattle games during the season, and you kind of wish you had, because look at what you missed during the season. So that's a good series. I'm rooting for Seattle to win. It could be interesting to see what happens with the Seattle Dodgers series on the West Coast. I'm sure they'll put those games to 8 o'clock, 5 o'clock Pacific time. We'll see. I initially said when the Phillies lost that I wasn't going to watch. But if the Dodgers are the Dodgers. I'll be rooting for Seattle if they get in. So I will have that rooting interest. But so we'll see what happens. It's a disappointing season for the Phillies. As we know, I sit here looking at my Phillies calendar and I just shake my head. And we're going to bring Murph on and talk to Gregg Murphy, pre and post game host of the Phillies games. And we see him a little. We could see him more. I wish I could see him more. I'm in North Carolina. I don't get to see the post game show much to see Gregg Murphy, but always love to hear his thoughts about the games and the season. And we're going to bring him on right now. Hello, Gregg. How you doing?
I'm good, Mitch. How are you?
Well, Gregg, I'm going to ask you, did you hear me last Thursday night?
No, I didn't. I think I was on an airplane coming back from LA.
Okay. So I don't know if my family heard me in Pennsylvania and New Jersey, but they should have.
Yeah. It was hard. It was tough.
And my wife usually yells at me for screaming, but she understood. I got off the couch and I yelled at the television, and there weren't a lot of good words that came out of my mouth. I couldn't believe he did it. In my angst, I didn't even see JT pointing to first base.
Mm-hmm.
And then I saw it and I got more angry. And what did I do right after that? I had to do something. I made myself some chocolate pudding.
There you go.
I went to the kitchen. I got the milk out. I put the stuff in the pan, and I just I gotta do something that
there's not a whole lot that chocolate pudding's not going to help. So I think that was the right
one. And it worked out great. So thank you for being here. Sure. I just listened to the podcast with Todd and Jim and Ruben before we came on. They're talking about what's going to happen and what we think is going to happen. I am not a fan of the manager, but he's back. Let me get your take. And I got some thoughts that really nobody else has brought up, and I wanted to get your thoughts of why they did not show up the bats especially. The pitching showed up. Pitching was phenomenal. We can't blame the pitching except for some of the relief efforts, as we know. But what happened in your head?
Well, I mean, the most obvious answer, and I think you already know this, is that they ran into a really, really good team. And I think if you go by Vegas or if you go by wins in the regular season, if you go by almost any metric that you were trying to handicap the postseason, the Dodgers and the Phillies were the two best teams across the board, in virtually every metric. I know the Brewers had a better record, but that was a little bit of an anomaly, if you ask me. And I would say that Dodgers and the Phillies were the two best teams in baseball, not just in the National League. So the fact that the Phillies and the Dodgers met up in a 5-game series right out of the chute was a little bit unfortunate, I think, for both teams, because I don't think it set up well for either team to kind of showcase the kind of teams they are. Unfortunately, the Phillies ended up on the short end of the stick. You say, why didn't they show up? I think they showed up in spades. I think what happened is we just watched the two best teams in baseball play one another, and one team beat the other. And you're watching it now with the pitching that the Dodgers are rolling out there against the Brewers. Another really good lineup, right up until you face really good pitching. And the same was true for the Dodgers lineup, a really good lineup that was not very dynamic playing the Phillies. They were able to scratch out a run here, and there. As you mentioned, they hit a home run off of Matt Strahm late in the game, and that turned that game upside down. But overall, their offense was very average, and had they lost the series, people in LA would be saying the exact same thing that people in Philly are saying. So I think you have to keep that part of it in perspective. Great pitching trumps great hitting almost always. And they got great pitching, and that's what happened.
And the Phillies did too. And I don't think people are giving the Phillies and the pitching staff, the starting pitchers, enough credit for what they did. How many runs did they score? I mean, the Dodgers, they really didn't score a lot. And
they did.
That's the frustrating part. That was the frustrating part of this series. I mean, the Phillies beat them 4 out of 6 during the season, right? I look at this, Greg. I look at 4 years in a row, and I won't consider 22 with the series bad. I mean, we were ecstatic, and Houston was a much better team. Mm-hmm. The last 3 years, especially losing to the Diamondbacks on our field, and the Mets last year, you roll it back with Thompson, and I don't think he's the guy to get him to the next level. I honestly do not. So what is the role of the manager? What is there here's what I did yesterday, and I'm hoping he responds. I know Dr. Joel Fish, okay?
Sure.
Sports psychologist in Philadelphia. I want to get him on and have him talk about dealing with pressure. Who is responsible for that? Who puts them in that mode that says, guys, it's a regular game. Just do what you did all season. Right?
Can I answer that? Let me answer that.
Please, go ahead.
Because the answer to that is, well, it's 2 or 3-fold, but the easy answer and the obvious answer is it's Rob Thompson. It's the manager. And which is exactly what he did. I was there for some of it, not all of it. I'm not in the clubhouse when they're having players only meetings and that kind of thing, but I'm around a lot and I see an awful lot. And there was the sense of it's just another game, go out and treat it that way, was the overriding mantra from the very beginning. Whether or not the players are able to then internalize that and take it out onto the field, that's a whole nother story. But the message, I think you look around baseball, some of the teams that are still playing, and there are different managerial styles. I would think you would agree that Pat Murphy is very different than Rob Thompson. Dave Roberts is probably a little bit closer to Rob Thompson than Davis to Pat Murphy, and you can look at everybody. The Rob is a calming presence in that clubhouse all season long, and he was a calming presence. Believe me when I tell you, in Los Angeles when the team was down 0-2, and we don't have this conversation if Kirkering is able to field that ball, get it over to first, we go to extra innings and win the game, right? We're not. So this idea that Rob is somehow responsible for the actions of the players out on the field, I just don't understand that. I don't understand it in any sport. You hear it all the time. A head coach in football, these guys can only do so much, and then it's your players. It's always the players that are responsible for putting that in action. And you don't have to take my word for it. You can ask any player because they'll tell you the same thing. So I just think Rob, the guys love to play for him. They go to work for him every single day. He's an open book with them. He's an open book with the media. And he's just this calming presence for everybody. And I've been doing this a long time and covering all sports, but he's one of the best I've ever seen. And this idea that somehow he's not the guy, I don't understand it. So you and I will disagree on that one for sure.
I mean, again, I sit here and watch as a fan. You are there, right? I will, obviously you're telling me what you see, which is great. I still as a fan, and you might also question some of the moves that he's made,
Absolutely.
And not just in the playoffs, but all during the season. And the fact that what bothers me that I see other managers do during the season, and it may seem like a simple thing, but to me, I would think you want your manager, the guy who's in charge of you, to get your backs, have your backs.
For sure.
When the umpires are making horrendous ball and strike calls all during the season, right? I've seen, and Aaron Boone is the top part of the list, right? He's getting thrown out a lot and arguing a lot.
And how many has he won?
Understand.
Okay.
Understand. I get it. I love you pressing me on that. That's great. Love that. But I wish he would, again, does it make a difference? To me, get your butt off the thing and talk to the umpires. Say, listen, what are you doing? This is not a strike. You got to get better. I don't know that the players react to that and say, you know what? Great. Thank you, Rob. This is great. We appreciate that. Again, does that make a difference in the ball game? Who knows? But a lot of us and I think it's 50-50, maybe 60-40 people that want Rob and don't want our back. Fans, right? I'd love to see more passion from him in those particular situations. Does that sound crazy and silly? I don't know.
Well, no, but I think you have to be careful because we've had this conversation with Rob. When I say we, I mean myself and the other broadcasters, because we have an opportunity after, or I should say before, every single game of the year to spend about 20 minutes with Rob, just the broadcasters in his office, asking him, why did you do this? And what was your thinking behind this? And if this situation happened again, would you play it the same? And Rob answers those questions for us. Honestly, I have heard him say, yeah, I probably should have thought this, or maybe I would do it this way the next time, or absolutely I would do it exactly the same way. And it's not a pat answer that he gives us. He thinks about it and then he decides, yeah, maybe I would do something different. So and then the other side of it is, if you get out of your chair as a manager and run out onto the field every single time the umpire makes a bad call, that would be insane. Even if you did it once a game, it would be ridiculous. And it would start to become almost like, in my mind, eyewash for the manager. Like, I'm out here doing it so that everyone can see that I'm doing it. Rob will argue, and Rob has argued, and Rob's gotten tossed from games, not many, but when he really believes it's, a ledge he needs to leap off of. But other than that, he believes the team is better off with him in the dugout as opposed to back in the clubhouse. And I think the team thinks that too. And they don't want their manager to be flying off the handle at all times. They like the calm, cool Rob. They believe that they play better that way. And history is littered with guys that were fiery, right?
Yeah.
Some of them had great success. Some of them had no success.
Mm-hmm.
And history is littered with guys that have a calmer approach. And the same is true. Some guys are. So to me, you have to know that your group, and this group, I think, plays for Rob and likes Rob. So, I never thought that Rob was in danger, even at the end of the season, because I had a sense that the front office also knows that this team wants to play for Rob. So,
okay, and that's listen, great information. It's again, we don't know what goes on. You do, and I appreciate that. The other biggest issue, and I got these numbers from Jessica Brand. Here's the bigger issue for this team. Their chase rate.
Yeah.
Third highest in Major League Baseball. The average is 28.2. I think, what did she say? I wrote it down here somewhere. Houston and Colorado are higher than them. It's second highest in National League. Bryce Harper, 35.6.
Is this for the season?
This is for the season.
Okay.
JT, 32.3. Trey, 31. And again, as a fan, frustrating to see. And I don't know if Harper, and this is what I wanted to bring up with you, specifically with Bryce. We see him flailing a lot. He was hurt, got the wrist. Is he hurt? Is that wrist bothering him? And he's just not comfortable swinging the bat, especially the second half of the season.
Yeah, I can only take Bryce at his word. I sat with him when we were in Arizona, which I think was like 2.5 weeks before the season was over. And he and I sat down for one of my Sunday long conversations that I have with the guys. And I asked him that. I asked him how he was feeling. And he looked me in the eye and said, I feel great. Yeah. So I can only take what Bryce is saying. And I'm not going to speculate. Is it possible that he was playing with some pain in that wrist? Yeah, I'm sure that's very possible. Most of these guys are playing with something.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't put injury up on real high on the list of why Bryce struggled at the end of the year. I mean, and actually why he struggled in the postseason, I guess I should say, because he didn't really struggle at the end of the year. He was pretty solid, through the back end of the season. But this offense struggled in the postseason. It started with Trey, who won the batting title this year. He was the best hitter in the National League in that regard. And then it followed by Kyle Schwarber, who hit the most home runs and knocked in the most runs in Major League Baseball this year. And then it followed Bryce Harper, perennial MVP and one of the best players in baseball. And none of them performed well. You're not going to win a lot of baseball games when your guys do that. And I think it has as much to do with the Dodgers as it does with the Phillies.
Agreed. Yes, pitching. We know about pitching, but again, this chase rate for the year is terrible.
Yeah, that's not great. I agree.
So Gregg, is that a long thing? I mean, I just listened to Larry Anderson too. I mean, his interview with the VIP, and he said you got to make contact. I mean, Nick Castellanos. I mean, as much as I hate his swing, he got on base with that double, and he hustled and got there.
He did it twice. He did it twice in the postseason.
Twice.
Yeah.
Make contact. I always joke with my wife, I think they need glasses. I mean, when Ryan Howard was going bad, right? I said, does he need contacts? What is he swinging at?
Yeah.
Right? And Bryce and Kyle, those sliders, those sweepers away, they're just flailing.
Yeah.
And Bryce, at the beginning of the season, normally will swing at that high and inside pitch too. Drives me nuts.
Yeah.
How do you fix that chase rate, right? Isn't that from the hitting coach?
No, again, no, you're going to bring me right back. No, it's the player. Good. It's always the player. It's not Kevin Long. It's not Caleb Cotham. It's not Rob Thompson. All they can do is give them information, give them feedback, give them encouragement. That's all they can do. It comes down to the guy in the batter's box trying to recognize 96 with spin and not swing at it in a fraction of a second. It's a difficult thing to do, but the best players figure it out, right? And for the most part, those guys that we're talking about at the top of the lineup are the best players. But for whatever reason, when the pressure got ramped up, that maybe they were pressing, trying to do a little bit too much, and you start to expand, and it doesn't take much. You expand 2-3 inches off the plate, you look like you're flailing at that point. I mean, we're talking about that, but it's a huge difference in the game of baseball. And I think that's what we saw a lot of. I think the guys did a better job for a good part of the season with the chase, right? So the numbers that you have, I don't know them off the top of my head, but if they are that high, if they were the third highest chase team in baseball, that surprises me because I felt like they were doing a better job for a good part of the season. But they definitely were chasing in the postseason. And, we hear it a lot from the different coaches, guys trying to do too much. And I know it's almost cliche at this point because we hear it so much.
Yeah.
But in this game, and maybe even in more so than any other sport, trying too hard is the worst thing you could do. But it's also, I don't know if you golf, but it's a similar kind of thing. Right. So the harder you try not to slice, the more likely, instead of just letting yourself relax and I mean,
I played, I'm going to compare this, and people can just take it for what it's worth. Played men's senior league, okay, and I wasn't a bad hitter, but again, I went into slumps, and I would get so frustrated.
Yeah.
And there was one time towards the end of the season, I was taking a shower, and I'm thinking, what the hell am I doing wrong? And it hit me. I said, just meet the ball. Stop saying I have to get a hit. Just say, wait for the ball and just hit the ball. Yeah. The last 3 games of the season, I went 6 for 12.
There you go.
I took the pressure off of myself.
Wait a minute. Said, you got out 6 times?
Pardon?
You got out 6 times? Come on.
Yeah, really in senior men's baseball, but it's throwing 50.
Right? But it goes to show you how hard this game is, right? Because you're thrilled with 6 for 12, as you should be. But,
Greg, and I sit there. What's funny is I go every once in a while. I go to play. I go to the game, and I go. They're pitching from the same distance that we are. These guys are throwing maybe 60, 65.
Yeah.
How do these guys hit the ball at 95 and 100?
It's remarkable.
It's unbelievable.
And I know no one wants to hear it. And I don't even want to say it. But the game's hard, right? And I know I'd have no chance at putting the bat on the ball if I was standing in that batter's box, no matter who was throwing in Major League Baseball. And the fact that these guys are able to do it sometimes is just remarkable. So, it's the hardest thing to do in sports. And when you got a really good guy on the mound, and our Phillies starters prove that night in and night out, because they made some of the best hitters in the world look foolish.
Yes.
I mean, they did.
Yeah.
And Christopher Sanchez was better than Shohei Ohtani. And Christopher Sanchez was better than Mookie Betts, and Jesus Luzardo was better than Freddie Freeman. And, those are Hall of Fame names, and our guys were better than them. But on the flip side, Blake Snell was better than Kyle Schwarber, and Blake Snell was better than Bryce in this series. And ultimately, it cost the Phils a chance to move on.
Yeah, because it is. It's so frustrating because I'm thinking again, they get by the Dodgers.
Yeah,
they have a heck of a good shot to get to the World
Yeah.
Series.
And I think we're seeing that, right? I think we're going to see the Dodgers get to the World Series, and I think we're going to see the Dodgers win the World Series. I'll be interested to see if Seattle gets there. I think that'll be a pretty good matchup. But if you're asking me, I think the Dodgers are going to win. And had the Phillies flipped the script on 2 of those games and gotten out of the Dodger series, I think we'd be in the exact same boat right now, up 2-0 on Milwaukee. I really do. I truly believe that.
I think the same exact thing.
Yeah.
All right, let's go. Final thing, 2026. What are we thinking? And before we do, and actually, maybe we should do this real quick. Yeah, the CBA expires. I went online and looked at the major issue, which is, I guess, the salary cap.
Always.
Right?
Yeah.
How do you fix it? I mean, I don't know. Gregg, how do you fix this? It's crazy.
Yeah. Mitch, I wish I was smart enough to have a really good answer to that. Because I don't. I can see both sides. I absolutely can understand where a business owner is trying to limit costs and maximize profit and do all that stuff. And I absolutely can see where an employee who is incredibly valuable to the organization and knows how much money that they bring into wanting to get paid at the highest level. From my perspective, Mitch, the only thing I can say about the CBA, and I work for the Phillies. My wife is an employee of the Phillies. We're dependent on Major League Baseball to pay our bill. I just hope they figure it out. I just hope they figure it out, because a lockout hurts folks across baseball, I think, the most. It hurts the fans, and it hurts the employees that make their living that way.
Exactly.
And then it hurts everybody else. So I just hope they figure it out. And they will. They will, but it's probably going to get dragged out and be fairly ugly for a little while.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. It's hard. It's hard. God, let's hope they start talking about this soon. Who knows? All right. Next year. What are you thinking? Who comes back? I mean, my thought real quickly, they got to sign Schwarber. They got to figure out a way to keep him, because it's really hard to replace that.
Yeah.
It's so hard. Even if he hits 45 homers, he's going to get the RBIs. You can't
sign me up. Yeah.
No, right? Exactly. They're not going to get rid of Turner. They're not going to get rid of obviously Bryce. I want Bryce to stop back, and people get so mad at him because he doesn't hit. Well, how many second basemen really in the history of major leagues really hit for average? I'll take a Bryson Stott hitting 250 with his defense. Okay?
Absolutely.
Right?
100%.
Castellanos, I think, is gone. Here's what irked me, and I don't know that the team they can go with it. The attitude of Castellanos and then the attitude of Bohm, both of them making excuses during the playoffs of dealing with pressure and the fans. So I think they got to let those attitudes go by. I hope they sign Bader, because if you got Bader, and who knows if that's going to happen. He's this premium center fielder. I'm reading, he's not the greatest. He's not great. His OPS the second half, he played great for the Phillies. But again, match that with his defense, it's pretty good. So what are your thoughts?
Well, I'll start with the last guy, Bader. I think the Phillies are interested in trying to keep Harrison Bader, but I think what folks have to remember is that Harrison Bader did play well this season, and he really did showcase himself when he got to Philadelphia. And on top of that, he showcased the kind of person he is, and his teammates instantly were drawn to him, energy, positivity, all of that. Harrison Bader might get a pretty big contract somewhere else. And so he is going to go out and see what's out there. And he should, whether or not, I think he enjoyed his time here. I think he really enjoyed the fans. I think he enjoyed playing with his teammates. So if there's a deal to be had, maybe they can hammer one out. But don't be surprised if Harrison Bader gets a big contract elsewhere, and you think, oh, that's a lot of money for Harrison Bader, because I think he's played himself into that possibility. Yeah. So I think he's a wait and see. You mentioned the guys that aren't going anywhere, and I would agree with you. I think one of the big questions is JT. I think the Phillies do everything they can to bring JT Realmuto back.
Yeah.
Because he is still one of the better defensive catchers in all of baseball.
Yeah.
His offense has slipped, but he's a freak of nature. He's a freak athlete, and he's also a big time glue guy in that clubhouse.
Yeah. Okay.
And then on B, I don't think they really have anybody else that can play that position 150 games a year kind of thing. Not to take anything away from Marshawn, who was really good in the moments that he had, but I just don't know if he's a 162 guy. And I don't know that you can take that chance, especially if you can re-sign JT for 2 or 3 years.
Right.
JT's, I think, 35, but the way he is built and the way he's more like 32.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think JT plays until he's 38, 39 and plays at a high level. His offense might continue to slide a bit, but if he's batting eighth for you and playing, so I think the Phillies will try their best to re-sign JT. We'll see, because he might get offers elsewhere too. So
it's going to be interesting. I agree totally. Who else do you get to take that position? There's nobody in the system, and you're looking at the guys available.
Yeah, there's no one ready, right? No. I mean, there's a guy or two down in low A that they hope will make it through the system, and they like Rafael Marchand. I just don't know if Rafael's ready to play the bulk of the innings, and guess what? He might have to, and then we'll find out. Yeah. But I think that if they can figure out a way to bring JT back on a short time deal, I think that makes sense for just about everybody. So,
I mean, if they can bring up Crawford, and so if Bohm leaves, there's some third baseman out there.
Yeah.
Do they bring Crawford to play left field?
I think you're going to see Justin Crawford on the roster next year from get go. I think you're going to see Andrew Painter on this roster pretty much from the beginning. I think you have a real good opportunity of seeing an Aiden Miller on this roster at some point.
Yeah.
To me, those are 3 pretty good additions, right?
Yeah.
If you bring those guys in, obviously the bullpen's going to look differently.
Yeah.
And I don't think that Ranger will be back as much as Ranger's one of my favorite guys. I think, again, it goes 2 ways, and fans always have to remember that. It's not that the team doesn't necessarily want to bring a guy back. It's just that they might get a better offer elsewhere. Yeah. There's 29 teams that are going to be bidding for Ranger Suarez, or 30 if you include the Phillies. And I just think with the rest of the way this team's constructed, they might have to say goodbye to Ranger and wish him nothing but the best. Yeah. Alvarado, I think, is a free agent as well, so they'll have to make a decision on him. I hesitate to say this because I think fans want to hear something different, but I don't know that it's going to be incredibly different next year. Like, I'd be surprised if Alec Bohm wasn't on this team next year. I would be. I'm not saying that they're not talking. I have no idea, but I'd be surprised if Alec Bohm's not the starting third baseman. The guy can hit. he can hit. And he's made himself into a pretty darn good third baseman defensively as well. So, there will be changes. I'm just not sure they're going to be wholesale changes because this team is so darn close. And I know we heard that last year, and I get it. I don't even like saying it, but there is a little truth to it. So,
yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens. That's the fun part of this sport, this professional sport. Because you know what, we get a break after the World Series, the awards come out, and then you get the winter meetings, and then 60 days, 45 days after that, hey, guess what? It's Clearwater time.
Yeah, you don't have to tell me. It goes quick.
It does, doesn't it? Yeah.
As soon as Christmas is over, we're basically headed back, and
exactly.
So but it's all right.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
It was so much fun to talk to you. It's, to talk to somebody who has the relationships and who's there. You
Yeah.
know, it's an honor for me to be able to talk to someone like you who's got all this knowledge, who is gracious enough to respond to my tweet and say, please come on. I love it to be able to do that. I mean, I'm going to be 70 years old. I'm living through your guys, for you, for all of you. And it's just fun to talk to you guys about.
Look, Mitch, I say this a lot, but I'm so incredibly blessed to be a part of the Phillies organization and to do what I do. I grew up right outside of Philadelphia too, and I've been a fan my whole life, and I'm still a fan.
Yeah.
And I hurt when that game was over the other night. The difference between myself and you went and made chocolate pudding. I had to go do 30 minutes on the radio trying to make sense of what I just saw and kind of realize that in an instant my season was over. And like, you know, my buddies Scott and Kev who are over here, like I'm not going to see them for a couple months. You know, it's like it's a weird dynamic for us, but believe me, that clubhouse was hurting and the organization was too, because these guys want to win so badly. They just want to win so badly.
Absolutely.
And maybe to their detriment sometime, right?
Yeah, I know. And listen, it's sports, right? Nothing's predictable. That's why we love it. That's
why we love it. That's why we'll be back.
And I appreciate the job that you do. I mean,
thank you.
I don't get to see you at all hardly anymore because I'm down here in North Carolina. But you know, always look forward to hearing your thoughts when you were on the radio or doing the play-by-play or whatever I saw you. So thank you for what you do too.
Appreciate that. Thank you. Yeah, we're lucky.
Yeah, I will. If I could do it all over again, I would try and do something with the Phillies. Hey, I'll work on the grounds crew. I don't care.
Hey, it's a pretty good gig.
My back. I'm 70 almost. I don't think it would work.
No.
And I'd have to move back. My granddaughter, I would love to see my granddaughter more often, but you know.
There you go. There you go. Yeah.
All right, listen, my friend. Have a great off season.
Thank you.
I appreciate you connecting with me so much, and we look forward to see what happens. Right.
All right, Mitch. All the best to you. Well, I'm sure I'll see you up at CBP at some point. All right.
I will be there at some point next year for sure. Maybe more than once.
All right. Yeah. Come on up.
I'll look for it.
All right.
All right. Thanks, Murph. Appreciate it.
Take care.
Take care. All right, great conversation with Gregg Murphy, talking about the Phillies. He's got some, listen, he knows, he sees, he hears, he talks, he listens to the players. And it's one of those things where you just have to listen. Again, a lot of us didn't like what they saw with Rob Thompson in the playoffs. A ton of people, but Gregg Murphy's telling you they like him, and you think at some point, you know, they're not going to bash the manager. There's no way that is ever going to happen. Just like the kids in high school aren't going to bash their coaches because they don't like what they said to them. It's a team, and we're going to bring a coach on now. We can verify that kind of stuff, but it's just a matter of, you know, hearing it from Gregg Murphy. I believe it a lot more than as a professional, coming from him as a professional, than my own fandom. All right. We try to talk to somebody from Garnet Valley football, because I didn't go to school there. My kids did. And we love high school football, love following the Jags on my phone. And it's been a successful, I don't know, my kids moved there in 95. Kids got to high school, graduated in 10. So, and football has been fun. Go to games all the time, both home and away. We miss it. And we're going to talk to defensive line coach Zach Liggitt right now about Garnet Valley football. Hi, Zach. How are you?
I'm doing great, Mitch. Thanks so much for having me on. How are you doing?
You are welcome. Appreciate you taking the time. I do follow the Jags. I told this to the kids last several when they've had the kids on. I said, guys, you know, you don't know me, but I was part of that community for 26 years. and especially when the kids got to high school, and with Coach Ricky there, and my kids having Coach as a teacher, and getting to know Mike a little bit, have him on the show. It's just really fun. I mean, it's just really fun talking about. I'm when I was in high school, I was like 5'4". I'm 5'4" now, and I was probably 160. I tried out from the junior. We had a junior high school. My coach cut me because he didn't want me to get killed. I was like, no, just put me on the team. I love. So I was the manager, which was great.
Yeah.
So it was fun. So Zach, you played for Westchester.
Yeah, I did.
All conference. I read 2 seasons.
Mm-hmm.
What position was that?
So I was a defensive end, outside linebacker type position.
Okay. The Eagles are looking for somebody.
I just saw Aaron Glenn said Brees Hall isn't going to get traded. So we're
Really?
not going to get any outside pass rushers, I don't think. Yeah.
Not
and
good.
we just lost to Darius Smith. So this is
Yeah.
tough week.
How crazy.
That was a crazy retirement.
Oh my gosh, it's crazy.
Yeah.
So let's talk about your role on the team. What does a defensive line coach do from the beginning of the season to now you're at the middle of the season? What are you doing?
So, like in the beginning of the season, I would say the biggest thing is figuring out your depth. Like linemen, offensive and defensive line is the biggest position group on the team. So there's a lot of guys, especially during camp and like at Garnet Valley especially, everybody's competing for spots. So those first few weeks of camp are really just seeing who's doing their job and who has the right techniques to be able to get out there on Friday nights. And then even the first week or two when you're in live game action, still just trying to figure out what guys you can rely on, who you can trust in the system that'll just be able to do their job every play and help the team. So, but now as we transition like towards the end of the year, getting closer to playoffs, it's a lot of really minute technique stuff. Just I know who my guys are that I'm going to rotate, and I'm really just looking for any small thing that I can fix because my biggest thing is just trying to tell them to never get complacent, right? There's never a point in time, not only in football, but in life, where you should never get complacent. And I think back to last year, like one of the most complacent games I've ever seen in my life was when we played Ridley last year and we lost. And yeah, that was one of the worst football losses I've ever had in my life. But that's just something that I'm always trying to press because we're on a 6-game win streak right now, and we're going to play the best team in 5A in our district. And, you know, as long as we show up, we can do what we need to do, but just got to make sure the kids have their heads on straight.
So what happens? So let's say the defense it gives up a nice long drive. Excuse me, and you're not stopping the run.
Mm-hmm.
You come to the sideline. What are you talking about with them on the sideline? Give us an idea of what you're saying to them.
So one of the best things that we have, right, like we're blessed with all of the materials and equipment that we have as a staff is we have live huddle film during the game. So right when the kids come off the field, like my 4 defensive linemen, they come straight up to me and we grab an iPad and we just watch however many plays the drive was. We just sit there and we watch it. And one of the things that I love is like we're at that point in the season where if a kid doesn't do his job the right way, they know. Like I don't have to sit there and tell them because, you know, I did that the whole entire 8 months leading up to this season. So it's awesome that they're at that point where they can recognize what they're doing wrong in the moment. But the biggest thing is just showing them like as a scheme, right? I feel like in high school, a lot of them don't think bigger picture, like thinking about how the formation plays into everything and how like consistently making calls and down and distance and stuff. So that's something that I'm always trying to get them to think about, especially as we get later into the season. I remember when we played Marple Newtown a couple weeks ago, and we got him on the 1 yard line, and it was first down. And like none of the coaches on the sideline said, watch the ball. Because you think it's kind of just like a common sense, like, oh, watch the ball. You know, they're on the 1 yard line. They're probably going to hard count. So they hard count. And of course, all the D linemen jump off sides. And that's like one of those times where I'm just standing there like, oh, man, like you can't help but like slap yourself, you know, because it seems like a basic thing. But for high schoolers, when they get on the field, it's just like go, go, go. So I do love that about high school football, though, the intensity of it.
It is, and you're right. I mean, these are still teenagers, right?
Mhm.
And as much as they are focusing one play at a time, I'm sure that you're telling them, looking at the formation. Um, yeah, can they multitask and realize it's first and goal? Now, again, not a big deal. Half the distance to the goal line
Yeah,
from one is a
yeah,
half yard
exactly.
line. Not a big deal. But when it's 3rd and 3 and they do that, and you
Mhm.
keep a drive going for the other team, I'm sure that's
Yeah.
more an intense reaction from you.
And that's I do my best not to get intense, and I always tell them like, as long as you do your job, I should never have to yell at you. And I'll be honest, I yelled a lot during camp, just getting the guys to where I needed them to be. But man, I can say since our first game, like week 2 on, I've been super pleased and just very impressed with my position group. Not only the guys who play, but the guys who go out there on scout team and practice and give the
Mhm.
best look that they possibly can to the offense as well.
So tell me how it works. Again, I never played football. I've talked to Mike about this a little bit. So, as a defensive line coach, how are you collaborating with the rest of the positions when it comes to a drive? Okay.
Yeah.
How
So
does that work?
when it comes to like looking at like our defense is on the field and we're going through the plays, I feel like for me especially, like I watch the front. I look at tackle to tackle or tight end to tackle, and
Mhm.
I'm just telling my defensive coordinator like if there's any keys that I didn't pick up watching film before the game, like if there's any giveaways that I can find, like I'm telling them about that. But then I would say the best thing about like our defensive coordinator Panapinto, he is so good at recognizing tendencies. So like when they come out in a formation, we're 85% sure what 1, 2, or 3 plays are going to come our way. And it's just about making sure that something that we worked a lot on the past few weeks is communicating the calls in. Just making
Okay.
sure that everybody on the defense gets the call and everybody can get set in time. And then as the drive goes on, like we're fortunate enough this year, I believe we have a great defense. Definitely one of the best defenses I think in 5A in our area. And I feel like as the drive goes on, the kids kind of start to become more comfortable doing their job and just making the plays that they need to make rather than trying to do too much. I would say that's one thing. This is my 3rd year coaching high school football. The one thing I would say that gets in a lot of kids' ways is they're trying to do too much rather
Right.
than just doing your role, right? Like focusing on just your role.
Mhm.
But communication is just it's massive from the secondary coaches to the middle linebacker, outside linebacker coaches, and then to me, and then all of us to our defensive coordinator, right? Like I think we all do a fantastic job just relaying what we think would work, what play
Mhm.
calls would be best in that situation. And then, yeah, our defensive coordinator, Panapinto, is always just open to suggestions, which I love. So, yeah, he
Yeah.
lets us get real creative.
All right. That's cool.
Yeah.
Do you let me see. Let me go back to think. I had a question. So what would be? Give me an example of what one of a call or two you would have that you would send in
Yeah.
to the huddle on
So
defense.
let's see. This a few weeks ago. Well, let's go back to Haverford. We played Haverford, and Haverford ran. They run the same offensive scheme that we run. So everything is dive. They're trying to hit. They're running the ball down the whole entire field, right? It might have been one of the fastest football games in high school history.
Yeah.
So we're lining up in bowl, which is 4 defensive linemen and A's and B gaps, right? And then you have your 2 middle linebackers and A gaps. So we could go like bull Toro, double smoke. So you would have all the D linemen shoot their gaps, and then the outside linebackers would be blitzing off the edge.
Okay.
And it's awesome too because I call the JV defense. So when we go from varsity to JV, like it's the same thing. You can be super creative, and
Hmm.
the kids whenever they hear that certain call that they know, like, oh, I'm running a stunt or like I'm blitzing or I'm doing something I usually don't do, they get real jacked up, which is
Yeah.
like awesome. It's awesome to see.
I can imagine those guys blitzing are like, just can't wait to get that
Yeah,
hut,
right. I'm just gonna go take a guy's head off full speed.
which is fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, Tough game against Coatesville, first game of
Yep.
the season. I watched that and I was like, oh, geez, Coatesville. I didn't think they were going to be as good this year,
Hmm.
but for somehow they always find
Yeah.
the kids to play. It's
Yep.
crazy. Um, so from there, you've gotten a lot better. Now,
Yeah.
have you faced a team as talented as them, or is this week going to be another really good test?
So I would say Coatesville, they had their offensive tackle. Like, I was super proud of how my kids played. You know, they have a top recruit offensive tackle in the country, and he's a monster. I won't lie. Like, he's one of the best high school football players I've ever seen any position. And I love that we played a kid like that the first week, you know?
Mhm.
So I got trial by fire. That's pretty much what it was. You know, I had two kids that started on the defensive line that game that barely played a season ago, and they went out there and they battled. And I think it just set us up for success for the course of this whole entire year because up front, I just don't think we've seen anybody that is as physical. We've probably seen teams like I would say Haverford was just as fast off the ball,
Mhm.
but other than Haverford and Coatesville, I think we've had a very dominant season up front, which I love to see. And all that credit, goes to the work that these kids put in every single day. Like they go out there and they grind every single day. So I knew week one was going to be a challenge, but I also was happy about it just because I knew throughout the course of this season it would be easy for us to look back and be like, look at what we did to that Coatesville offensive line. And now, going into Springfield, I feel like our defensive front, they have the confidence that they can go up against anybody. So
Okay,
that's
so
what we
let's
love.
talk about this week's game. Springfield, are they undefeated now too?
Yeah, they're undefeated.
Okay, so what have you focused on with them? Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
How's the quarterback? What offense do they play? Do they throw the ball? Give me a little
Mhm.
rundown.
So it's funny because, and I've learned this, in my few years of coaching high school football, is like each year you have different strengths and you have different weaknesses, right? So we played Springfield twice last year, and they had a good quarterback, but they had one really good wide receiver. So they weren't afraid to air it out last year. So last year, both games that we played them in the regular season and in the playoffs, like they were throwing the ball. And this year, when you watch, they have a sophomore quarterback and a lot of their skilled players aren't like what they were last year. So
Okay.
they try and run the ball down every team's throat. So this week it's just been preparing in every way possible to try and stop the run on first and second down, trying to get them to third and 6+ if we can, and then off of that, everything that you do is usually play action pass. So,
Okay.
which I love too because we have a lot of calls where we just we send our defensive linemen through their gaps vertical, and it's just like if you have play action, they're already going up the
Yeah.
field, so they
Yep.
kind of just run into the backfield, which is awesome.
So that's going to be fun to watch. Excuse me. Young quarterbacks. Some are really good. Some have the poise, even at this level.
Yep.
And it's so interesting to watch when I'm watching college football on the weekends. Do you watch college football?
Yeah,
To see some
definitely.
of these freshmen and sophomores playing in these big
Mhm.
stadiums. Oh
Yep.
my gosh, it's crazy. How
No,
do
it
these
is
kids
crazy.
get so mature to be able to deal with that stuff? It's
Yeah.
nuts,
I
right?
think about like the kid from Michigan. He's like 18 years old. And
Yeah.
he's out there every week. He's playing a ranked team, nationally televised, like that hundreds of thousands of people watching every game. So yeah, it's crazy.
Right?
It is crazy.
So this quarterback they're going to run the ball. Excuse me. Okay, so we're looking for that. And you said I talked to some kids a couple of years ago about watching their keys, right?
Hmm.
And you focus on that with your kids.
Yeah, definitely. So like throughout this whole entire week, as I'm watching film, anything that I can get from like the quarterback's feet, maybe like when we played. What was it? I think it was when we played Haverford. The kid, whenever it would be a handoff a certain way, he would have his right foot back, and if he was going the handoff to the other side, he would have his left foot back. So it's like any keys that you can find to just give us any kind of edge to
Mhm.
feel like we are in a better position heading into this game, preparation wise, is just super super important. And it's it's also funny watching our own film because we also have our own tendencies that we kind of show week in and week out, and then thinking about how you can offset those and try and mess teams up when they think they know it's coming, and the next thing you know you throw a curveball at them. So yeah, up front they're solid, but I feel like we know they want to run the ball, and I think that's a huge advantage for us. Like if you're going into every drive knowing that on first and second down their goal is to run the ball, there's certain calls and there's like just certain ways that we have to get off the ball and get off blocks to make plays to win the game.
And so you talked earlier a little bit about now you're getting to the real detailed stuff, right? These kids are playing, they know how their skills. Again, not a football player, not a lineman. Give me some things that you have worked on specifically. What does that mean? Is it the hands? Is it the footwork combination? All that?
Yeah. So hands is always the biggest thing. I always say, like, the kids, when they come out, you always got to use your hands because you can't get off a block if you don't grab somebody, right? And I always say they use their flippers, like their forearms. They'll come out and they'll just like shove a guy with their forearm. But there's no way that you're ever going to be able to shed a block or get off a block if you don't use your hands. And I mean, we rep it to absolute perfection during camp, to the point where, like I said, like if they don't use their hands, they know immediately that they didn't use their hands. I don't have to tell them. So that is definitely something that I'm glad we've perfected, because the first thing with high school football especially is you have to be able to stop the run to be able to pass rush. And this year we've transitioned into like a new defensive scheme. Last year we were more of like just a 3-man front. Now we have an outside linebacker who's walked up, who's like the position that I played when I was in college. It's like a hybrid defensive end outside linebacker, but it's awesome this year because we have a lot more pass rush opportunities. With 4 guys on the line of scrimmage, we can really go and rush the passer. So during practice, we've worked a lot of different just pass rush moves, pass rush reactions, different techniques for how to get to the quarterback. And I think it's funny because when I watch like our first 2 or 3 games, pass rushing it's kind of an art. Like it's something that you have to feel. You have to feel how to get to the quarterback and how to like counterattack whatever the offensive lineman's giving you. And the first few weeks, it was all so new to all of them. But now, like when I watch film, I can see they're playing chess, not checkers, with offensive linemen. Like they're out there setting up moves, making things work, and it's just fun to watch. Because whenever we do, like we played 2 weeks ago, we would rush 3 guys, and we did it probably 4 or 5 times. We only rushed 3 defensive linemen, and they had 6 guys blocking, 5 linemen, and the running back. And we got 3 sacks in that game, rushing 3 against 6. So, like, that's insane. If you could put 8 guys on the back end and you can get sacks up front with 3 guys, you're winning. So,
absolutely. One side note: I hope you get decent refs this week.
It's honestly, as the season goes on, you seem to get less and less rest. That's what I've realized.
Zach, I mean, watching these games, especially was like, and Greg Mink was going nuts in the booth. I mean, he was going crazy with that one. It was it too many men on the field? What the heck was it?
Yeah, that was. They said there was too many men on the field, but it was the worst call. One of the worst calls I've seen.
They go up and then they go back and then they go up. What are you doing?
Yeah.
How do you? And I emailed Eric. I said, "What the hell was going on?"
Yeah,
he goes,
no one knew. Like the refs didn't know. No one knew what was happening. The refs are moving the ball up and back. They think they know what the call is. The call was wrong, and yeah. And then
last week, there's a penalty flag, and he doesn't give you the signal. What the penalty?
Yeah.
What are these
now, it's funny now because we have all the film on the iPads. So like when they make mistakes on calls, like if we're really annoyed with the call, we will show the ref what happened on the field that play.
Oh, you do?
Well, with the 12 men on the field, like we were immediately showing the refs like there's no way what you called was the right call. So I thought that was a funny moment.
I love that you guys can do that. I don't know if they like it so much.
Yeah, they gotta hate it.
My gosh. All right. So really, defensive line. I mean, listen, who doesn't love a blitz and a quarterback sack, right?
Yep. Yeah.
Rushing, go to the edge, force them inside. That's what you're probably preaching, right? So I'm gonna obviously look for that. Oh, one thing I forgot to ask. Yeah. Halftime.
Yep.
What's it like going into the locker room? Close game? Any changes?
A lot of our games have been close this year. So halftime is really important in my opinion. I think like you have to be able to, don't get me wrong, I communicate with the guys after every single drive, but at halftime you're not on the field, it's more calm. So they can, if you need to get a message across about the game plan, that is a better time to do it. And I think, and that's another great point just about our staff. Like when we go into halftime, the offensive coaches meet for a couple minutes real quick, and then the defensive coaches meet, and then the offensive coaches meet with their position groups. And then once the offensive coaches are done with their meetings, then the defensive players will come and meet with their defensive coaches. So Usually right when we go into halftime, we'll just talk about anything that we're changing going into the second half, anything that we might expect if they haven't ran yet. And then we just communicate that to the kids. Like I remember last week when we played Upper Darby, the big thing was just watch screens because everything that we've seen on film, they were throwing screens all over the place leading up to our game. The whole first half, they didn't throw a screen. They were just throwing a bunch of deep balls. So that was my main key at halftime. I was like, guys, watch screens. Like they're going to throw a screen at some point. And they only threw one, and we got it. So,
Yeah.
It works. It does.
Yeah, those adjustments are key, I'm sure. Yeah, I'm listening. I'm looking forward to the game. I mentioned before I brought you on. I've been here for 4 years in Wilmington, North Carolina, and there's a pretty good team really in Wilmington. There are several, but we're actually going to go to a game on Friday night. So I will have my phone with me all charged up.
Watching on the phone.
Watch on the phone so that I can come back next week and talk to some of the kids who played and get their thoughts, win or lose. But yeah, it's high school football. It's just a different vibe,
It really is. Like, I didn't start playing football until I was in high school. The first time I ever played football. Yeah, I was in 10th grade. The first time I ever played football, I was in 10th grade. And it's only because I had an injury that I had to stop playing baseball. So I gave up baseball. I started playing football. And I played for a terrible high school team. Like we would win 2 games a year and we would lose every game that we lost by 35 or more. Yeah. And it's hilarious that like I still feel the same way. Like I would go out there on Friday nights knowing it probably wasn't going to go well, but there's no feeling like it in the world. And I knew I always wanted to be a teacher, but I didn't know what it would be like to be a coach. But to watch the success of your players out there under the lights and just knowing how hard they worked to earn those moments, it's unbeatable. It's really incomparable. There's nothing that compares to it.
Yeah, I can relate in one way when I worked for you've heard of Westtown School?
Yep, I live right next to Westtown School.
Do you really?
Yeah, I live right there.
So I worked there, and I wasn't a teacher. I had a very unique position, but in my position, I had to know every kid in the upper school. I never thought I'd be able to do it, and I did.
Yeah.
I feel like, so when I saw their accomplishments on the field, there's no football, but there was soccer and there's everything. Girls too, basketball. In essence, it's a proud dad moment because you know these kids.
Yeah.
You're with them every day. You get to know them quite a bit, quite well. And when you see them perform the way they successfully, or even if they make a mistake, you know that you can go the next day and see them and go and make some kind of comment and say, good effort, way to go. But obviously the successful ones, it's very prideful.
Yeah.
And I hear that from you, which is awesome. And I'm sure the kids appreciate that. They know that. And that's a great thing.
I could just say like I couldn't have ended up in a better place. I'm not from like the Garnet Valley area. I grew up by Allentown. So when I got out here, I didn't know much. I didn't know anything about Garnet Valley. Coach Ricky was just best friends with the coach that I had in college. My head coach in college was great friends with Coach Ricky. So that was how I kind of got hooked up at Garnet Valley. And one of the first things that I heard when I got to Garnet Valley was we're more focused on creating great young men than we are having a great football team. And I couldn't appreciate that more. I just couldn't because it goes hand in hand, like football is just a sport that resembles everything that it takes to be successful in life outside of the sport, right? Everything that you need to be successful on a football field, those same qualities are what you're going to need to be successful when you graduate high school and go out into the real world. Yeah,
it's true. Responsibility, empathy, teamwork, teamwork. I just said working together, listening, taking accountability, all of that stuff. And that sets as a teacher, that's the foundation for them becoming a responsible adult, which is what we try to do as adults. We're working with kids, as a parent, as I am. So it's cool, and it sounds like you'll make a great dad someday if you're not.
I'm looking forward to it. I don't think it'll be anytime soon, but I'm really looking forward to it.
It's one of the things that can kids drive you a little nuts most of the time. But as they get older, it gets better. You can have conversations with them, and give them your opinion. And hopefully in a supportive way, and like you're doing with the kids on the team and the kids that you teach.
Exactly.
I know you're teaching in the middle school, and those kids, middle school kids are a little different. We know that. But if you can gain the respect of those kids as a teacher, you got to make it.
Yep.
So it sounds like you're doing that, which is great. So congrats to you.
Thanks so much. Yeah, my job has never felt like a job. 3 years in, there's never a day where my job has felt like a job.
Zach,
So,
that's the best thing.
yeah, it is. It really is.
Yep. All right. Thank you so much, Zach. I appreciate you coming on, taking the time. Good to get to know you. So the 24th is the last official game, regular season game. I'm going to be up in town on the 30th. Go to Halloween on the 31st with my granddaughter.
Okay.
We'll look and see. I'm going to try and sneak away if it's a 7:00 game.
Yeah. I mean, that should be the first round of the playoffs.
Yeah, so, I know.
Yeah.
I'm going to try and sneak out because she's 20 months old, so she'll be done pretty quick. If I can, and I'll be in Montgomery County. That's the only problem. So even if I can get there after halftime, I think I'll try and come visit. And check
okay. Cool. Yeah, it'd be great to meet you in person.
Absolutely. All right, Zach. Best of luck with Springfield this week. I'll be watching on my phone and look forward to a successful last couple of games and then the playoff run.
Cool. Thank you so much, Mitch, for having me on. I appreciate it.
You're welcome, Zach. It was fun to talk to you.
This was awesome. Have a great rest of your week.
Thanks. You too.
See ya.
Bye. All right. So thank you, Zach. Appreciate that coming on. Fun to talk to you. You know what it's about as a teacher, as a coach. That's all people can ask for. I mean, that's it. It's exactly what it is. Help the kids learn, teach, take pride in them, and you do the best you can. All right. Well, that'll do it for me from Wilmington, North Carolina. I will be back next week solo with a guest or two. I don't know who yet. We're working on that. But I do know that in the upcoming weeks, I will have Clint Hurdle, batting coach for the Colorado Rockies, coming on. I don't know when yet. It'll be in November. Still waiting to hear from his booking agent to see if I can get him on in one of those first three Wednesdays in November. All right. Thanks for coming on, folks. We appreciate you being here. And I'm going to set this out as a replay. And you can, if you missed anything, tell your friends, especially with Gregg Murphy and Garnet Valley community. Hope you enjoyed it. And we'll talk to you next week. Everybody take care. Have a good one. Be safe. And we'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.